Welcome to The Good Ride. I'm James Beastie, and today I'm talking about the Bataleon Goliath Plus. I rode this 59 with Union Force Bataleon Acid Boa boots and Ride deadbolts. I got this in a decent amount of conditions for the end of the season. I even got a little bit of powder. Got some hard snow, some medium snow, and some pretty uneven wet snow. When it comes to sizing, I like this 159. I could easily ride it, but if I were to buy this, I would get the 56 because I like the 56 regular Goliath better than the 59. It worked better with my size 9 boots. It handled my weight fine. However, you prefer a little more speed, a little more float, you could go 59, no problem, and it wouldn't be that hard to ride. So let's talk snowboard dating app. This has exceptional pop. This is incredibly forgiving, has very good directional float when you use these setback inserts. Some things that'll make you want to swipe left. This really only appeals to perfectly center-weighted riders. This has limited edge hold and is really challenging to ride in hard snow. All this exceptional pop can buck you and bounce you around in soft, uneven snow. And I just want to take a moment to talk about my sponsor that's helping us bring honest and objective content to you. Flower Board Shop. They have a strong online presence. They do their best to match pricing like the big stores do. Have fast shipping. They've been selling snowboard gear longer than some resorts have been allowing snowboarders on the hill. So if you're in the United States, give them some love. So let's talk shape. This is a directional twin. The nose is a little longer than the tail, a little different shape, but the tip and tail are the same width. This is a very unique camber profile. Yes, a lot of boards have lifted tech, but none have it like this. You have full camber from tip to tail. Then you have a little flat section right here. Then you have a massive amount of camber. I can get almost my whole hand under, but none of the effective edge touches the snow. And what you have to do is ride this center weighted perfectly, push all your weight into this area, and engage this one part in the middle that doesn't have TBT, which is unfortunately at the highest point off the snow. And when you engage it, it flattens out this middle section. So that's how you get purchase on the edge. And it tracks really well, one footing and flat basing, as long as you stay center weighted, but sometimes it can feel a little washy. And to move what I'm talking about here into edge hold, I found Bataleon boards to be the most challenging to ride in hard morning spring snow. It wasn't even fully icy. Every other board I was riding that day all gripped the snow massively better. First thing in the morning, I felt like I couldn't turn. I felt like I was just sliding the whole way down, and I was doing everything I could to get this part to engage, really twisting and leveraging into the snow with the edge, and it barely held. So I would not recommend this for people who see a lot of hard snow. Now let's talk flex. It's a good bit stiffer than the Goliath. It doesn't feel like those ultralight flexes where it incorporates a lot of chatter into it. It just feels like a stiffer, a little more poppy version of the regular Goliath. And down here in the tail, it's pretty stiff, and the nose is a touch softer, but still overall pretty stiff. And then between the feet is pretty stiff too. I would say this is medium stiff, where the Goliath has a much more smooth medium flex. And with this flat section right here, when I went to butter, I felt comfortable and it locked in a butter right here and never slid out when I was buttering around. Some boards with spoon noses just slide out because it's a full spoon. You can never get purchase when you're buttering. Then when it comes to pop on an ollie, this thing is unreal against all the other Bataleons, including the Goliath, which is super poppy. The Beyond Metals, the Chameleon, this was the pop master. I don't get really high in the air, but this helped me get higher. It made me look better than I am. So that's a really cool feature about this board. Now, when it comes to taking this into uneven snow, this bucks and bounces around in soft, uneven snow. It's very hard to manage this board. While it turns quickly, and I would be fine in smooth conditions in the trees, I would not feel comfortable riding this in uneven snow in the trees, because every time I hit something uneven with this, it just bucked me out of my line, where every other board that day in same day testing didn't. But it's not chattery, it doesn't feel cranky in uneven snow, it just wants to get air when you might not want to get air. Hard, micro bumpy snow, while the edge isn't gripping very well, the board isn't giving you that cranky feel that can pass up into your joints and fatigue you quickly. When it comes to speed and going straight, this has a pretty balanced side cut that allows you to go straight into things like kickers or make short to medium straight lines on the mountain, but that just isn't what this is truly made for. This is more of a get air kind of board, turn around, butter, play. It's not a bomber. There are better boards for that out there. When it comes to base glide, I like this base a good bit better than the Goliath's base. This Plus base is all black. It only has a little die cut and it holds wax well. It had pretty good glide. Upper tier. Not the best of the best, but definitely up there. When it comes to turning, this Bataleon Goliath and all Bataleon boards definitely turn in a different way than almost every other snowboard out there. It's very unique and it's fun. It just has a learning curve if you're coming from pretty much any other board and any other camber profile. I find it initiates a turn pretty quick, but when you get it on edge, you need to keep this center weighted, like I talked about in camber profile, and it'll turn well without washing. If you front foot weight it or you back foot weight it, I found this started washing and it felt like you're on a disc instead of a snowboard. But the spring out of the turn is super satisfying. You really feel all this camber, and it's a very balanced turning radius. You can do a little bit of everything. A moderate circle carve across the groomer carve, medium radius turns, and then those down the line long, narrow S turns work pretty well with this too. And when it comes to powder, both the Goliath and the Goliath Plus are very good floaters for being all mountain boards. I really thought this would be a cartwheeler based on all this camber, but this TBT is doing a very good job at keeping you afloat, especially when you set it all the way back with these full-size discs. Now, one thing to mention with the Goliath Plus, the Goliath, and the Beyond Metals, all boards with setback inserts, I chose not to use Bataleon bindings like the Astro and the Atom that I got to test. I really like these bindings, but they have a very small disc that barely fits what I call a setback insert. This doesn't work with mini discs, and it barely works with these. You can't slide them either way or slide them forward or backwards. That's why I chose to ride my Union Force, because they have a full-size disc with a large channel, so I could actually slide this up from the back and slide this back from the front, so I could bring this closer to my stance width. And speaking of stance width and setback on board, with a 22.75 inch stance width, which is really wide, really free to taint, I can get 2.25 inches back from center of board. In comparison to the 156 Bataleon Goliath, I could get 2.875 inches back from center of board at a 2.5 inch stance width. That's really strange, because usually the setback on board is the same throughout the sizing range. It's just the stance width changes to match taller riders. So this just might have a different stance location in comparison to the regular Goliath. So if you're an average rider like me, you're going to greatly benefit from that extra setback on board with the regular Goliath, and I'd pass on the Plus just to get that extra directional float. When it comes to switch riding, when you set this up on reference, This rides switch incredibly well. It's not full-on true twin, but it's damn close. This just excels at jumping. The way this tracks into a jump is pretty good. You can load your edge up on a jump if you're center weighted, or you can just launch off it flat, and the TBT isn't going to feel weird because of that flat section in the middle, and then you're going to get pop off that jump unlike anything you've ever experienced. Not to knock anything off the regular Goliath, that thing has unreal pop. This is just a little bit better, and that's another shade of excellent. I'd rather be on the regular Goliath jibbing. It's a little softer, it's a little easier, and in the pipe I just don't feel comfortable with the edge hold. But if it's a soft spring pipe and I was on a 56 instead of a 59, this wouldn't be bad. And overall, I think this board has some really special, unique features. Yeah, I'd love to see a little extra grip, and I'd love to figure out a way for this Bataleon to not bounce around when it gets soft uneven, but this pop is unparalleled, and this TBT is really functional for center weighted riders. So there you have it.